Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session that is designed to work with what's known as a disassociated part. Now that sounds complex, but it really isn't. A lot of people will occasionally feel a sense of not fully being in control, that they will have these things, and sometimes that might be a blackout or it might be time distortion, but they just think that, where did that come from, or how did that happen? And it's because a different part of them was in control for a period of time. And one of the things that is known as a dissociative disorder is binge eating. And binge eating, a lot of people that have binges will say that once they're in a binge, they lose track of time, they're not really paying attention to the taste, and that when everything's finished, it almost feels like they return to their body and have to clear up the mess that has been created from the part that was responsible for the binge. And that's often why people that binge sometimes become bulimic. The purge is an attempt to mitigate the consequences of the binge so that they don't have the consequences of those excess calories, for example. It's not a healthy thing to do, but it's an understandable thing to do. They're trying to clear up the mess of a different part of them. And I was working with a client that in their teenage years and as a young adult had a lot of occasions of binging followed by a purge. And it would, they were over most of it, in all honesty, but the thoughts were still there. That nigging or nagging thought of, oh, but you could just do this. Nobody would know. You can do this. It will make you feel better. And what was interesting is that I knew it was disassociated because the inner dialogue was not stated in the first person, like I could do this. It was stated in the third person, you, so you could do this. And being a therapist as long as I have, I tend to pay attention to my intuition, and intuitively a metaphor popped into my head. And in the genre of vampire movies, there is this lore, this almost kind of element that is just an expectation of this genre, and that is that a vampire cannot go into your home unless it has an invitation. And when it gets in your home, quite often it has very sinister motives. But the threshold is the doorway, and it can only get in with an invitation. And the language that this disassociated part was using was to influence. It was trying to gain access to control to then have the binge. So, you're bored. There's nothing you need to do. Nobody would know. And it was almost like this charming, sinister voice that had an agenda. So what you're going to hear in this is a metaphor of that part that has quite possibly a good intention, but negative consequences of that good intention, perceiving it to be like a vampire, parasitic, taking, seeking gratification, not being responsible for any consequences. It does map over quite nicely with this metaphor of a vampire. There's another metaphor going on here, and the client was talking about how it feels to have this going on. They said it's like going over a tightrope on a huge canyon, and that this idea of still being attached to the binging is almost like a safety cord. So you're going to hear that as part of the induction as well. And I've had a few people literally say to me, I've published close to 2,000 hypnosis sessions. They've said Adam, why would it make sense to work with you directly, given that you publish so many of your hypnotherapy sessions? Like, surely there will be something out there relevant to everyone, and they don't need to work with you directly. And there is an element of truth to that. You know, I have published so many things, so you probably are going to find something pretty close to what would be helpful for you for completely free, just looking at my published recordings. But my response is that the variable that is always changing is the individual client in front of me. They're going to have unique experiences, memories. They're going to have unique belief systems and coping strategies. And that's why when you listen to my podcast, you're going to hear some things that just seem a little bit odd or strange. And it's strange to you because you're not the client that I was working with. But the actual client I was working with, it hits the mark perfectly because I spend so much time eliciting what is going to be the right metaphor, the right context, the right suggestions for that client. So listening to a session about a metaphorical vampire and crossing a canyon might seem a bit strange, but metaphorically it works. And that's why I do this little pre-talk before you hear the session to give it some context. Otherwise it's just bizarre. There is no actual vampire. The vampire is just a representation, a metaphorical representation of a different part of their inner dialogue that happens to be disassociated. But once you give it that metaphor, then the goal is to not let the vampire in, not invite it, see it for what it is, and actually challenge it to come up with a better way of meeting that intention. And what it does is it gives the client that I'm working with a way to not feel that they're on the receiving end of a barrage of intrusive thoughts, and the only way they can make those thoughts go away is to binge eat, is to give them a different strategy that will work even better than doing a binge, because it doesn't reward that intrusive thought. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you do like the idea of a really bespoke session entirely customized for you, the way that would happen is you would look in the show notes. There's normally a link there that would take you to book a 30-minute consultation call with me. Or you can visit my website, which is adamcox.co.uk. And on that website, you can also click a link to book a free consultation call. And we'll have a chat and you'll see if I'm the right hypnotherapist for you. For now, though, you might get some value from this session. So find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that slow, long, deep breath. And as you exhale, feel that you're releasing any tension around your eyelids and around your eyes. And as you breathe out, feel that tension leaving your body. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling any tension. I want you to scan your body for any clues of tension. Maybe your neck or your shoulders, your jaw or your forehead. And as you breathe in that relaxation, allow that tension to melt away. And you can loosen your jaw, feel your neck and your shoulders, releasing that tension. And maybe you notice that you're breathing deeper and longer. And the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become. And the more relaxed you become, the deeper you breathe. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine a vast canyon, maybe the Grand Canyon, or some other place in the world, even if it's just your imagination. Imagine it so deep, 1 kilometer, a mile, maybe far, far deep down there's a river. Maybe it's a rocky canyon. And I want you to imagine there is a tightrope. I want you to imagine that tightrope and feel that you have a task to cross the canyon on the tightrope. I want you to imagine you have that balance. And I want you to see a safety cord attached to you and the tightrope. And maybe you feel that if you were to fall, this safety cord would be the only thing to stop you plummeting to your death. As you start to walk, you might get a sense that you have to be in full concentration all the time. You have to be careful. You have to be aware of winds and breezes, the tensile strength of the tightrope. I want you to get a real sense of how exhausting, how precarious this all feels, but also how reliant you are on that safety cord. But there are positives. The sky is clear, the air is still, and the canyon looks magnificently beautiful. So imagine stepping forward, realizing you are wearing that harness, that it has the function of protecting you, of keeping you safe. And each step you take, slow and deliberate, maybe you can feel that wobble beneath your feet. And maybe there's a part of your mind that used to fear falling whispers. What if you fall? Some people call fear the acronym FEAR, false evidence that appears real. And I wonder if you can reevaluate this canyon and glance down and see the truth. What if this canyon isn't a canyon at all? It's not so deep and not so scary. In fact, it's shallow, just a few feet down. And not jagged rocks at the bottom, but a bed of soft moss. And you realize, even if you did fall, you'd be okay. And you know that's true. Everything you've gone through gives you evidence that you can fall and be okay. What if you've been attached to a safety harness that you never needed? And what if that safety harness was holding you back rather than keeping you safe? What is protection for one becomes a prison for someone else. So think of that safety cord. And maybe it is helpful only if the canyon is real. I want you to get a sense that all of this is based on perceptions. The tightrope being narrow and the canyon being deep. Imagine going back to the canyon and seeing it shallow, and seeing the tightrope turn into a large, steady, stable bridge. This shallow area with soft moss and a strong, sturdy bridge. Now wearing a safety harness would simply be an inconvenience. And if you could imagine how strange it would be to wear a safety harness, crossing a bridge over something very shallow, let me know by nodding your head. Even if it's windy, you don't need the safety harness. And even if the canyon was there, if the bridge is strong, you don't need the safety harness. You realize now that you have many ways to feel safe, stable, and secure. And the more you believe that and think about it, the truer it becomes. I want you to imagine you walk now, not with fear, but with calm confidence. And with each step, you go deeper and deeper still. Every step across the bridge takes you deeper into that place within your mind of powerful, profound changes. And you can allow the conscious mind to rest now, like clouds drifting from the sun. And as the surface quiets, the real work can begin. In your mind now, you find yourself standing at the entrance to a beautiful home. An imaginary home, but you know it as your home. Safe and yours. Consider the doorway and the walls as a natural boundary. Everything in the home is yours, and everything outside of it isn't. And just outside that home, just beyond the threshold, is a figure. And they wear a charming smile. Eyes gleam with fake promises. I want you to see someone looking slick, tenacious, confident, a false friend, a vampire. Hear them saying things like, "You can do this. It will help you. You're going through a lot. This will make things better." Charming and sneaky. They want you not to do what you want to do, but what they want you to do. Perhaps you already see them now in this new way. This part was never a friend, never a helper. It's like a vampire. Polished, persuasive, pretending to help. But like all vampires, it needs an invitation. It cannot enter your home without your permission. Just like an inner dialogue that can't make you binge, but is tenaciously trying to get you to binge. And think of the vampire in this way. But now you smile, because you finally see it clearly. This part isn't a monster. It's clever, it's cunning, but it's also misguided. It's been using old strategies that perhaps once or twice even were helpful, but it's stuck in that past. And now, you are the one at the door. You stand tall. And maybe you say to this vampire, I see you, and I know what you're doing. I'm not afraid of you, but I'm not playing your game anymore. And you can even smirk a little as you say, because it feels good to reclaim your authority. This part was always meant to work for you, but instead it's been manipulating you. But not anymore. And you can challenge that part directly. If you really want to help, if you truly care, if you actually want to protect or make me feel better, then come up with something better, something elegant, something that lifts me up instead of dragging me down. And the vampire can see on your face you're not backing down. If they want their intention met, they simply will have to propose a different way, a different idea. But binging, that's off the table. Binging would be rewarding the vampire, inviting the vampire in to be destructive, like a parasite to take from you. But you know this vampire can do better than that. It can use its intelligence and tenacity to come up with something that enriches your life, that helps with heavy emotions, that helps with difficult times, that enriches your life rather than keeps you stuck in a loop. Your refusal to back down is noticed by the vampire, and that vampire begins to change. The charm drops, the illusion fades, the fangs disappear, and in its place you see something more honest, a confused part of you that just wants relief. Challenge it in a playful way to try things that you will actually say yes to. From now on, anytime that old, charming, tenacious voice tries to sell you something in its interest and not yours, you'll pause and you'll know. You hold the key. You make the call. You're not at the mercy of those urges. You're the one behind the wheel. You're driving the bus. This part is just a passenger, and you drive to your destination, not the destination that this part wants you to go to, because you've been to that place before. You didn't like it, and you don't want to return there. And if that part speaks up again in that way, it will be met with that assertive presence in you, not with fear, not with fight, but with leadership. You are in charge of your destiny, and it will know. The only way forward is to actually be helpful, to speak in your language, elegant, helpful, kind. I want you to travel through time, days from now, weeks from now, and imagine that part coming up. Maybe you're bored or overwhelmed, but imagine that voice. You now see it for what it is. And the harder it tries to influence you, the more you challenge back. And if it doesn't respond to your playful approach, it will respond to your assertive approach. But either way, you're not backing down. You're not rewarding the parasite to take more than it gives. So imagine that now, imagine that voice right now, urging you, encouraging you, influencing you. And start to practice how you will respond to that part. With a smile, with confidence. Come on, I'm not playing this game. Tell that part to come up with something better. Or just imagine closing the door on that part, turning the volume down. And it can keep knocking on the door, but that doesn't mean you have to open it. Unless you give this part an invitation, it has no power over you. Hear it say, you could binge. Do it, no one will know. And just imagine your response. That's old. I don't do that now. You can find a better way. And you do. Because there are so many better ways. A walk. A conversation with someone you know. A breath, music. Movement, rest. A good book. Creativity. Your mind is finding new answers now. Not as an effort, but as a habit, a path well walked. And if your unconscious now feels that you have the tools, do not need the safety harness, that if a vampire comes knocking, you know how to turn them away, let me know by nodding your head. And it will knock, but when it does, you'll be ready. Forewarned is forearmed. And don't be surprised if you notice that the more effective your boundaries get with this part, also the more effective they get with other people in your life that also want to take more than they give, to extract from you rather than enrich you, just becomes a nice side effect. Because what changes in the inner world ripples out to the external world. That's just how it happens. And you could imagine your life becoming better because you can communicate your true needs. Say yes to what you want to, and no to what you don't. To introduce boundaries in conversations, but also in commitments. You are in charge of your life. Imagine walking all the way over that bridge to the other side of what once you thought was a canyon and now is just a shallow space beneath you. And the other side of that bridge is that confident, stronger, version of you more in control of your life. This is your identity now. And you could always walk back over the bridge and have things how they were. But why would you do that when you found a better way? And if this feels like a better way, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. It's time to leave this place, but you leave this place with the new identity activated. The old one can still be there. There on the tightrope with the harness. None of it was necessary, none of it was real. You have evolved now. New boundaries, new resources, new strategies. And that version can return back to the here and the now. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now, as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.